Here's the faithful, discreet slave, spiritual Jews. And one day, these 8 men is going to heaven. But they got quite a bit of work to do before Armageddon to start. They say that Jehovah God directed them to sell all the property in New York City, in Brooklyn, New York City, to buy a piece of property to build on it. So they took everything almost out of these buildings, and they are building different buildings to put their printing press, their staff, living quarters, giant cafeteria, many stuff. But Jehovah has something for them to do, because since they are Jehovah's chosen people, since the Jews and everybody else in different religions turned their back on Jehovah God, so he chosen WatchTower to be his headquarters, and these 8 men runs the WatchTower, and they put out the proper food at the proper time to all Jehovah's Witnesses, and their job is to go door to door and try to bring people in before Armageddon start. They even got an internet that you can go on there, jw.org, to download their books, magazines, music, dramas. All these things you can do off jw.org. I'm going to show you the property that Jehovah had them to buy. And there's something special that's going to be on this property, supposed to be on this property, because if the governing body has been chosen to buy a big plot of land, there's something else they're supposed to build. Something that was destroyed, what Jehovah's Witnesses would say in 607, that was Solomon's temple. And later down the line, the Jews built another temple. It was destroyed in 70 AD. Now, in the book of Ezekiel, it mentioned about a third temple, that in the future, the spiritual Israelites, the spiritual Jews, which would be Jehovah's Witnesses, is supposed to be building a third temple on the piece of property that they have bought. And this third temple is supposed to be the proof, after it's built, that God would enter into this temple and would show the Jehovah's Witnesses that he has chosen them. Well, I'm going to show the part of the piece of property that Jehovah's Witnesses bought. You see, there's going to be a lot of construction on this big piece of property. And they're going to have a lot of interesting things going to be built on it. But the main thing, it's true, they can have their headquarters out here. They can have the living quarters for the people that's going to help produce the magazines, WatchTowers and Wakes, in the literature, in the printing press on this property. But Jehovah God did not let the Jehovah's Witnesses just build all of that and not include the third temple of Ezekiel, because that has to be built before Armageddon starts. So, because the temple is part of Ezekiel, prophecy, different other books, prophecy about this temple going to be built in Revelation. Talks about that temple going to have to be built. So, I mean, Jehovah's Witnesses is going to have to get on the ball and build this third temple. This gives you an idea, close to an idea, what the temple would have to be, going from the stairs to all the way up into the big temple itself. The visionary of Ezekiel's temple. This is about the basic diagram. People took the measurements of Ezekiel's measurements that he put in the Bible for the Jehovah's Witnesses supposed to be building this temple in the future. Because remember, Jehovah chose Jehovah's Witnesses. So for them to be God's people, they have to build this temple. And they have to complete it. So when they're going to start building this temple, after they got everything built for the people to live out there, well, they could help build this temple. This temple, my understanding, now y'all can quote me if I'm right or not, but the measurements, what I got out of it from a different area, that they said this temple would be bigger than Solomon's temple. Now, if I'm wrong, y'all can quote me on that, but definitely this temple would be bigger than the second temple. Ezekiel 45. Now, governing body and Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, Ezekiel was a prophet. So, when an angel told him that this temple is going to be built in the future, and let's see what he says.
Now there was a wall all around the outside of the temple. In the man's hand was a measuring rod 6 cubits long, each being a cubit and a handbreadth. And he measured the width of the wall structure, 1 rod, and the height, 1 rod. And then he went to the gateway which faced east. And he went up its stairs and measured the threshold of the gateway, which was 1 rod wide, and the other threshold was 1 rod wide. Each gate chamber was 1 rod long and 1 rod wide. Between the gate chambers was a space of 5 cubits, and the threshold of the gateway by the vestibule of the inside gate was 1 rod. He also measured the vestibule of the inside gate, 1 rod. Then he measured the vestibule of the gateway, 8 cubits.
WatchTower. After the temple was built, in verse 39 or 38 from Ezekiel 40, mentioned that there were going to be sacrifices, offerings. And this has nothing to do with Jesus dying for us. This is just a purification, just like they did when Solomon's temple was built. Let's listen to that.
There was a chamber, and its entrance by the gateposts of the gateway, where they washed the burnt offering. In the vestibule of the gateway were 2 tables on this side and 2 tables on that side, on which to slay the burnt offering, the sin offering, and the trespass offering. At the outer side of the vestibule, as one goes up to the entrance of the northern gateway, were 2 tables. And on the other side of the vestibule of the gateway were 2 tables. 4 tables were on this side and 4 tables on that side. By the side of the gateway, 8 tables on which they slaughtered the sacrifices. There were also 4 tables of hewn stone for the burnt offering, 1 cubit and a half long, 1 cubit and a half wide, and 1 cubit high. On these they laid the instruments with which they slaughtered the burnt offering and the sacrifice. Inside were hooks, a handbreadth wide, fastened all around, and the flesh of the sacrifices was on the tables. Outside the inner gate were the chambers for the singers in the inner court, one facing south at the side of the northern gateway, and the other facing north at the side of the southern gateway. Then he said to me,
"This chamber which faces south is for the priests who have charge of the temple. The chamber which faces north is for the priests who have charge of the altar. These are the sons of Zadok, from the sons of Levi, who come near the Lord to minister to him."
And he measured the court, 100 cubits long and 100 cubits wide, 4 square. The altar was in the front of the temple. Then he brought me to the vestibule of the temple and measured the doorposts of the vestibule, 5 cubits on this side and 5 cubits on that side. And the width of the gateway was 3 cubits on this side and 3 cubits on that side. The length of the vestibule was 20 cubits, and the width 11 cubits. And by the steps which led up to it, there were pillars by the doorposts, one on this side and another on that side.
Now, WatchTower, you heard about the Levites and the other group that they're going to have be in charge of the sacrificial of these animals to Jehovah God. Now, I hope you are the real Israel, or the real spiritual Israel, because if you put the wrong people in charge for the sacrificial of the animals to Jehovah's altar, then you will be making a big mistake if you're not in the right tribe that's supposed to be working in the temple. I'm going to be making part 2 of this to see if Jehovah's Witnesses are really God's chosen people, or